defense? Do you think it's going to look schematically the same under Chris Ash? What do you guys do? How do you do it? And, who are some of the players that you're going to lean on Sunday night?
Yeah, one of the consistents, I think, for Notre Dame's defense, they're still going to be fast. They're still going to be long. They're still going to be very athletic.
Okay.
Cam, I'll be honest with you, man. I wish I had some of the answers to the questions that you had. I want to know what it's going to look like, because that's going to be the first time that I, in a game situation, can sit down and say, all right, this is what Chris Ash is going to do with halftime adjustments. This is how he's going to dial up certain pressures on third down, given the down and distance. Now, there are some inferences that we can draw, but it's tough. I mean, you got to go back to Ohio State's defense back in 2014 to see what he was able to do there. Yeah. I take what he did at Texas with a grain of salt. It was COVID. He didn't have the spring for install, and that team was really bad. That Texas 2020 team was not good. And so I take what he did there with a grain of salt, but as far as I'm concerned, we've talked a lot this offseason on the Irish Breakdown podcast about Chris Ash's comments consistently in press conferences. And this isn't the Chris Ash defense, it's the Notre Dame defense. And in programs who have had sustained success before over a period of time, I'm talking like Miami throughout the 80s, bleeding into the early 2000s, you went through different coordinators. You went through different position coaches. But what was consistent? The identity on defense remained the same. It's going to be tough to gain yards, not going to give much up. You're not going to give up big plays. Now, I was talking earlier on the show about the 0-1 Miami team. Man, I mean, that team, if they didn't score a single offensive touchdown, they end the season 8-5. That blows my mind. But that's how good that defense was. You know what I'm saying? And so
I do. That was my sophomore year. I remember it very well. I had classes with some of those dudes.
See, that's what I'm talking about, man. But it's to the point where will Chris Ash be able to maintain that identity and say, okay, regardless of who they plug and play in at coordinator, the Notre Dame defense umbrella is still, hey, they're going to not give a lot. They're not going to give up a lot of points per game. They're going to have a stellar, long, athletic pass defense. Biggest question is going to be how they're going to be able to get, pressure on the quarterback. And like we were just talking about, man, it's going up against a really tough offensive line in their first matchup. And so we're not going to have to wait that long to find out what Notre Dame's D-line is made of. Okay. But as far as players to keep an eye out on, there's the obvious ones, right? Like Leonard Moore at cornerback. He's one of the best, if not the best, returning cornerback in the country, and he's only a sophomore. Adon Schuler kind of steps into I don't want to say the role, I guess more the mantra of the role that Xavier Watts left vacated when he left for the NFL. He's now playing for the Falcons.
Okay.
Linebacking core is, I think, amongst some of the deepest in the country. Not ready to proclaim it as like the best, but I think they're in the top 10 discussion. And so, you got Drake Bowen coming back. He was one of the few people on defense that started, played, and finished all 16 games last year. And they got a host of people that are going to rotate in between Kingston Viliamasa, Jalen Sneed, Jaden Ausberry. Christian Gray was a cornerback who, again, another polarizing player in the Notre Dame fan base. There's some that think that he's the best cornerback that has played at the university, and there's some that don't think that he should be on the team. Again, he had a stellar first year as a true sophomore in the starting lineup. Things that he has to work on, but we're also talking about somebody who had the game-sealing interception against Penn State in the Orange Bowl in the playoff semifinals. We're talking about somebody who iced the game against USC with a 98-yard pick six that extended the lead to 14 and put that game away. And so for him, it's about playing more consistently. But I think Notre Dame by the end of the season can be in the conversation to have a top cornerback duo in the country. But again, the questions lie along the defensive line. You have to replace Riley Mills. You have to replace Howard Cross. RJ Oben was a starter last year. He transferred in from Duke. Performance was a little underwhelming, but in one of the biggest stages that Notre Dame had, he had a strip sack for a fumble, and Notre Dame recovered it and scored on the next play against Georgia. So you're having to replace three key starters. Two of them were All-Americans. So I don't know if they possess necessarily the star power that Riley Mills brought to the table, but they will be able to come at you in waves. It's a very deep defensive line rotation. And then on the edges, they just got healthier. Boubacar Traore's back. Bryce Young, he's a 6'7", 270-pound edge rusher. That he's the son of former Hall of Famer Bryant Young. He's stepping into the starting lineup now. And so for them, it's just, again, there's going to be a deep 5 to 6 man rotation on the edge, and it's going to be more of a, while we wait for that player to emerge, we'll be
Yeah.
able to send waves at opposing offenses.
So since you're waiting for a guy,